What is up, everybody? Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM Media. I'm your host, Dylan Davis, and today I'm joined by the man who covers our Philadelphia 76ers. He is the editor for the Sixers Wire for USA Today, SMG. He is Kai Carlin. Check him out on Twitter at Kai_Carlin. Kai, what is going on? And appreciate you coming on the show again.
Hey, what's up, Dylan? No problem. Thanks for having me on, man.
So let's get into the news that kind of broke this morning, man. Before we get into anything Tuesday night related, anything season related, the Sixers are obviously a much deeper team than they were at this point entering the season last year. They waived Charles Bassey and Isaiah Joe this morning. I guess what I want to say is Charles Bassey, we all kind of saw coming. Not a lot of run in the preseason, not a lot of minutes for him to fill out. He probably would have been the 6th, 15th, 16th guy out of the order, right? So, but Isaiah Joe was a little bit of a surprise. So how surprised were you and the people maybe that cover the Sixers on this release?
I don't think we really were. I know that the fans might have been because
Right.
you know, Isaiah Joe, but he played 2 games in the preseason. You know, he didn't play in either of the home games. I think he didn't play against the Cavaliers, the second Cleveland game, until late in the third quarter, I think it was, or early fourth, something like that. So it just, you kind of saw that one coming up a mile away. His contract was non-guaranteed as well. So again, it's unfortunate because Isaiah Joe, I thought I still think has a lot of potential in this league to actually do something and, you know, be a rotational player in the NBA.
Right.
But it's not going to be here.
Right. So let me follow this up quickly with, and you might find this funny, but I guess the fans' reaction, or at least my group chat's reaction, was the player he's most similar to on this team just continues to get run with this team, and everyone's kind of tired of seeing it. Where's Furk line up in this rotation? Is he way down? 12th, 13th, not going to really get much run this season, or is he going to find himself at the scorer's table the second night into the season in the second quarter?
I don't know. I know a lot of people are upset about Furkan still being here, but I mean, a lot of people do got to remember he shot over 40% from deep in the 21 season. The 2019-20 season, the COVID year. And then he ended up shooting 38% from deep in the 2020-21 season. And then this past year, 2021-22, obviously he was terrible. He only shot like 28.9% from deep. It was tough. But the guy did say he had nerve damage, just to kind of just mess with him a lot. And I thought he had a pretty solid preseason. Personally, I thought he was pretty good, like just from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, he still struggles, but it's Furkan Korkmaz, so you know he's going to struggle defensively. You got to hope that he's knocking down his threes, which I thought he did a really good job of in this preseason. He was able to get downhill, make plays for others, get to the basket. I thought Furkan played okay. I thought he had a solid preseason, and he's going to find himself in the rotation at some point. It's fluid.
All right, so one more kind of preseason question before we move into regular season stuff. I mean, I guess it combines it, but the word this offseason that was highlighted around this team was the focal point was toughness. They got to get tougher, right? Does it feel like the Sixers accomplished that this offseason just through the little bit of action so far?
You didn't see Furkan Korkmaz take on the entire Republic of Georgia?
Speaking of Furk,
during Eurobasket, that man is different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, PJ Tucker will definitely make an impact in that area. D'Anthony Melton will as well. And I think Doc even said it. I think he was on the Woj pod with Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, and he said it wasn't really just a physical toughness thing. We needed to be mentally tougher. Danny Green, even before he got traded to the Grizzlies for Melton, Danny Green was like, we need to mature. And he's right. They were up 3-0 against the Toronto Raptors in the playoffs last year, and the Raptors ended up taking Game 4 and Game 5 and forcing a Game 6 in that series, where people were thinking, holy crap, the Sixers might be the first team in NBA history to blow a 3-0 lead. So it's one of those things to where time will have to tell when it comes to that question. On paper, the guys they added definitely fixed their toughness issues, but it's a time will tell type of thing. And time won't tell until it's April, May, and June.
Right, correct. No, I get that. I just wanted to see, obviously, the addition of Montrezl Harrell as well. We'll see how much that plays out through the regular season, but more specifically, the playoffs, as you mentioned. James Harden question for you. So we have one in the comments, and then mine is a little bit more off-ball. So, they want to know, because everyone got a little glimpse of it last night and a little glimpse of it in the preseason. Will we see more James Harden mid-range this season? And then my question to you is, do you think we will see more James Harden off ball with an addition of DeAnthony Melton, with a leap in Tyrese Maxey, more catch and shoot situations for James Harden, which he's more than capable of doing?
No to both questions.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, straight up, man. Like he's a step back 3-pointer or get to the basket type of guy. I mean, he'll throw in the occasional mid range shot, but it's not like he's gonna turn into Rip Hamilton or Reggie Miller and those guys coming off screens like that. And he is who he is, and there's a reason why he's going to the Hall of Fame. So he's not going to change his game anytime soon. Yeah. Also, no, he's the point guard. James Harden is this team's point guard,
right?
And I know during training camp when we were all down in Charleston, Doc was like, "Listen, we want the ball in Tyrese's hands as well." But I mean, you saw it in the preseason. James had the ball in his hand every single time they brought the ball up the court. So, no to both questions. It's just kind of how I see it.
Just had to ask, man, just to see if there's any difference within this offense. But I guess keeping it with this offense, the assumption that James is healthy, the assumption from what we've seen in preseason, and just the dog that he is, that Tyrese Maxey takes a bigger leap this year. Do you expect the offense to constantly or more consistently run through Joel like we've seen in the past, or will we see a more fluid kind of offense, the ball spread around a lot more, less stress on the big fella down low on the offensive side?
I think a little combination of both. I mean, obviously Tyrese, I feel like, has the ability to be a 22, 24 points per game scorer this upcoming season. But then when you are playing with Joel, who literally led the league in scoring last year, they are going to force feed the ball to a guy who's 7
Seems like a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, you're going to make sure you get the ball down to Joel.
To the 7-footer down low, yeah.
Yeah, that guy is 7 feet tall. He shouldn't be able to do half the things he's able to do. So, but yeah, I feel like with James, having a full training camp with James, having a full preseason with James, being able to actually build chemistry with him and run the pick and roll and be able to really see how that looks, that's going to be something that will be beneficial for them, obviously. And I feel like with Joel and James, it's going to be something that it'll take a little less pressure off of him. And then also, remember, you got PJ Tucker and Tobias Harris ready to launch from deep.
It's very true. So speaking of Tobias Harris, speaking of kind of the fall off season to kind of get into a rhythm, get into your role, I'll skip ahead a few questions. Tobias Harris, to me, ever since he's come to Philadelphia, has had a raw deal in kind of knowing his role through the Ben situation. And then obviously when he was traded here, he was like the fourth option. Now with a full season, and then obviously they trade for James and he has to adjust mid-season last year. With a full season, full training camp, to kind of understand what Tobias Harris's role is in this offense and on this team, what should we expect to see from Tobias Harris production-wise this year?
I mean, somewhere probably around like 14 to 16 points a game and shooting somewhere around 40% from deep. Like that's kind of, and then, he'll pull down 6 to 8 rebounds. He'll dish out 3 to 5 assists as well. Tobias Harris is down to do whatever it takes to help the Sixers win. He is a team player. He's not a me type of guy. Clearly, I mean, we've seen that with Tobias. Even before he signed in Philadelphia, he signed with Detroit, the Clippers, the Magic. He was never like a big me guy. I think the biggest thing with him is just continuing to get him to understand you have to make quick decisions with the basketball. As soon as you get the ball, either shoot it or maybe take 1 or 2 dribbles and get to the basket, something like that. That's always been the biggest thing with Tobias. There are plenty of times where, remember, he was compared. Remember, people were calling him Carmelo Light when he first came into the league because of the whole I'm going to dribble, kind of go one-on-one type of thing. Doc Rivers doesn't want that. And he shot 40% from deep once Harden arrived. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but he is fully accepting his role as the fourth option on this team.
He has to be the most underappreciated 76er at this point, right? Because there's so much of this fan base that would just wouldn't mind to ship him out when you're saying exactly what he's doing is doing everything, doing the little things that even if that's not what he's accustomed to doing, that's what he will do this year to kind of fit that mold.
Yeah, agreed. Just unfortunately, he's being paid all that money.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Not his fault, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not his fault. What's he supposed to say? Oh, I don't want that.
No, I'm good. Keep that. Yeah.
Yeah, keep that. Like, oh, I don't want it. So, I mean, so it's one of those things where, like, when you're paid that much money, you expect to put up 40 points a game, but it's not going to happen with him. That's not his game. And he's fully accepting that, he's now officially the number 4 option on this team.
All right, let's get to a couple comments here. Kai, who are you most surprised at in training camp?
Probably D'Anthony Melton. I think, I mean, he looked good in the couple drills in training camp that we were able to watch down in Charleston. We're not allowed to watch practice. We only see what we can see. But I thought Melton looked pretty good in drills and things like that. And in the preseason, his defense blew me away.
The energy,
I was very impressed by how he handled both Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell when they played the Cavaliers. And the Cavs are one of my sleeper teams in the East, just because when you look at all the talent they have come up with. And I thought Melton did a hell of a job defending those guys out on the perimeter. So out of anybody who really surprised me the most, D'Anthony Melton definitely did the most.
Love it. We got my man James from across the pond, big Sixers fan. I got the Sixers as the 1 seed in the East. Is he mad, Kai? So much competition in the Eastern Conference.
I don't think so. At the moment, I have the Sixers as a 3, so it's not totally far off. But this team,
room for improvement.
But this team, Dylan, is built to win in the regular season. I'm not so sure about the playoffs. Like, that's where
right, because we don't know the answers to that yet. Yeah.
Right. We don't know how the improvements are going to help in the postseason or anything. How's it going to translate? Right. So I look at Philadelphia, and they could be the 1 seed. They could win 60 games, like in the regular season. They could, but it's one of those things where it's just like, is it going to pay off in the postseason? Like right now, in order, I've got Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Miami, Atlanta, and Chicago. Like those are my 8 playoff teams in the Eastern Conference this year in order of the seeding and everything.
It's a loaded conference. And yeah, man, I mean, what's not to like? The energy. He's a little bit of a bucket coming off the bench at the center position. Have to like it. But Guy, we've been talking a lot of offense, and you brought up the defensive side of things with D'Anthony Melton, and there has been a major focus on the defensive end of the floor from day one of training camp, out of Doc Rivers' mouth. Joel Embiid talking about a potential defensive player of the year candidacy. What should we expect to see different from the Sixers defense this year compared to last year?
I think for me, it's just going to kind of be, I'm not really sure how different it's really going to look. Like, I've honestly been a little concerned with how quickly guards are getting into the paint against this team in the preseason.
Okay.
To be honest with you, like, it's been different when Melton's out there. When Melton is out there, they're not getting into the paint as easily. But Maxi's not a defender. He's been getting better, but he's also 6'2". 6'3". He's a little guy. He's got to kind of be crafty in order to really make an impact.
Right.
We all know James ain't a good defender. And then Tobias has gotten better. He's another one, made strides. He's probably in the starting lineup. He's arguably their best perimeter defender in terms of the starters. And Tobias did a hell of a job against Pascal Siakam in the playoffs. I thought he did a hell of a job against Jimmy Butler too. Just Jimmy Butler. And then PJ Tucker is 37. That's the big thing. PJ Tucker is going to be such a huge help to this team, but he's also 37. Like, he's not going to be as quick as some of these other guys. So that's going to be a concern as well. So I'm not sure if they're going to be the best defensive team in the league. Maybe over time, once they gel and try to figure things out, maybe.
Right.
But it could be a struggle early.
All right, 2 more questions for you before I take up too much of your time. You mentioned D'Anthony Melton. We've mentioned some of the names of the offseason acquisitions. I know he surprised you the most in preseason and training camp, but which offseason acquisition will make the biggest impact for the Sixers team this season?
Besides Melton?
If you know, he can be your answer. I just meant like you already mentioned him. So if you have another.
Oh, okay. Daniel House is another one that I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about.
Not at all.
Yeah. Daniel is a guy who he shoots the heck out of the ball. For one, he's another one. He brings an edge. He brings a toughness.
What do you expect his minutes to look like this year? Like in the rotation?
Probably somewhere around like 12 to 17, 18, something like that. Like he's going to play a good chunk.
Fine with me.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to play like a good chunk of the game. I mean, at this point, I think you'd have to say he's ahead of Furkan. He's probably ahead of Matisse Thybulle as well in the rotation. No, Niang.
No? Okay.
Niang's going to play a ton of minutes. I mean,
okay.
Now look, they don't even play the same positions. You know, George.
Yeah.
So I mean, George he's also he shot over 40% from three last year off the bench. He's going to play, a lot of minutes. So like I think Daniel could be one of those guys. Harold could be really good too. He's going to be the backup center. But behind Joel, as much as people love Paul Reed, I get it, but I mean, he's B-ball Paul. But Paul Reed still needs a little bit more time. I think I think Paul Reed's a great defender already. And he's great around the basket. But my thing is, like, there are still certain things here and there where just like he continues to commit a bad foul here. And he continues to kind of be out of rotation there. And, like there are still some things he still needs to clean up. But he's almost there. Right now is probably going to be Harold, though.
I like it, man. So last question. This is kind of the toughest question I've battled with all off season, but it's a great, not problem to have, but a great question to dive into. What makes a bigger difference? What pushes the 76ers closer to a championship right now this season? A healthy and aggressive James Harden. Like obviously you know the Daryl Morey conversation with John Clark and how James wasn't healthy this year, blah, blah, blah. A healthy and aggressive Harden, or a Tyrese Maxey that we're seeing in the preseason, a Tyrese Maxey that continues to take an even higher leap? What pushes them closer?
Harden.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Harden. Because Maxey can take his preseason and carry it over into the regular season. That's great. And that's obviously going to be a huge help. But James Harden and Joel Embiid are going to be the engine that drives this machine. The Sixers are going to go as far as Joel Embiid and James Harden takes this team. This is a solid roster. Hornets coach Steve Clifford, actually I wrote a story on it for Sixers Wire. Steve Clifford believes this is a deeper Sixers team than he's ever seen. He said this is a better Sixers team than he's ever seen. And Steve Nash said something similar in Brooklyn. And so did JB Bickerstaff of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So these coaches they're beginning to notice that they're a deeper team, but it will not matter unless James Harden and Joel Embiid lead the way. And I guess one thing for concern about both guys, neither of them have great postseason history.
Yeah.
So James Harden's postseason numbers are off the charts, but when you dive into a little bit more, there's always the playoff clunker. There's always the clunker where it went, and it always seems to pop up in the most inopportune times. It's so weird. In Houston, I think he shot 2 for 11 in a game 6, in a game 6 at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they had that elimination game against the Warriors a couple years ago where the whole team shot.
Yeah, but that was the whole team. I'm talking specifically. They were playing the Spurs in 2017.
Oh, okay.
They're at home, and it's an elimination game.
Right.
He doesn't take a shot until late in the second quarter, and he shot 2 for 11 from the game. And then this past year with the Sixers, he took 2 shots after halftime against Miami in Game 6. So it's random, and it always seems to pop up at the most inopportune times where you're just like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah.
And it's weird. So there's always the playoff clunker for Harden. It always pops up every now and then. And Joel obviously has a postseason injury history. And there always seem to be freak injuries.
Yeah.
But the point is they're injuries. So I think that would be a cause for concern at playoff time.
Yeah. The mask twice, the elbow to the face last year, the head off of a shoulder on a screen a couple years back. But I agree, man. And the only reason I say James Harden is because I truly think how quickly the narrative shifted nationally. And the season a regular season game has not been played. But if you recall, at the end of last season, the flack that James Harden was catching, not just here, but not just in Philly locally, but on national television. And is he cooked? And is he not the same player? And he's a step slower. And now you have just whispers throughout the offseason of MVP candidate. And is he back to that form? And I just think I'm not going to take it that far to say MVP candidate, but if he is a healthy James Harden and aggressive James Harden, I think Philadelphia is in for a much different picture than what was painted in the second half of last season and into the playoffs from him, because I just think it changes so much within that offense. It takes so much stress away from Joel having to lead the offense throughout the regular season. So that's what I'm looking for, man. Listen, Tuesday night, league opener, NBA season kickoff in the Garden against Boston. How do you think the Sixers fare on Tuesday night?
I think they win on Tuesday, actually, just because the Celtics, they got the Udoka thing kind of hanging over their head. And there's going to be a lot of questions for them to answer to. Boston is obviously, they're the defending Eastern Conference champs. You give respect where it's due. But I think they got a lot going on, and I'll take Philly on Tuesday.
All right. Sixers start off the season with a win. Guys, this is Kai Carlin. Check him out on Twitter at Kai_Carlin. He is the editor for Sixers Wire on USA Today, SMG. Kai, thank you so much for coming on the show again, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Dylan, thank you so much for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Let's go Sixers, buddy. Thank you. Kai Carlin, guys, at Kai_Carlin. And you're right, man. You're right. I'm so used to just calling it the Garden, but I got to get better with it. It is TD Garden, not Madison Square Garden, where the 76ers will be playing on Christmas Day, taking on the Knicks. Yes, sir. Hashtag here they come. And it feels so weird. So guys, continue to drop your comments here on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook channel, wherever you are. Twitter, unfortunately, I'm not able to see those comments pop up and be interactive with me, but I want to continue to talk a little bit of Philly's NLDS series against the Braves, and then preview a little bit of this Eagles-Cowboys Sunday Night Football matchup, battling it out for first place in the NFC East in the first third of this season. But it's a weird time, right? Because the Eagles are 5-0. All of our attention is on the Eagles. It's a football town. They get 85% of the attention no matter what's going on most of the time. But I was talking to Phil on Trending in the AM this morning, and it's like Thursday, today, tomorrow, the Phillies have my attention. Until officially 8:15 hits on Sunday night, the Phillies will be the focal point for me until their season comes to a halt. But then you have the Sixers. So what happens when the Phillies, or if the Phillies advance through Atlanta this weekend? The Eagles continue to be impressive. And now you have the Sixers team, who we have, these championship type of expectations, a new look, a deeper Sixers team that we're all super pumped for, opening up the season at TD Garden against this defending Eastern Conference champion Boston Celtics. And then we get the Milwaukee Bucks in the home opener. So this town, this city of Philadelphia, is absolutely electric. But Nick Castellanos, my man, stepped up in a humongous way on Tuesday afternoon. I'm losing track of days here. 3 for 3 in his first 3 at-bats, driving in 3 runners, making the game-saving catch in right field, which, my God, if you would have told me that before the game, I would have laughed in your face, saying Nick Castellanos made a top 10 catch to seal the deal for the Phillies. But I kind of want to talk about momentum, because it just, I don't know, guys. Fans in the city, and I understand it's a worry. It's a gut punch when you lose a playoff game, when you lose a shutout, when you had an opportunity to come back home for the first time in 11 years with a 2-0 lead to clinch on Friday night with Aaron Nola in front of a sold-out CBP. I get it. The bottom line, the task at hand, the main goal for this Phillies clubhouse was to split in Atlanta on Tuesday and Wednesday. Did they do that? Yes, they did. It does not matter what game they took. I'm not understanding. I get it. If you looked at the schedule, you looked at the pitching matchup, and you told me Ranger goes 3 1/3 on Tuesday, and Wheeler gets through 6, and looked as dominant as he did through 5 2/3, you would say the Phillies should win the Wheeler start. They didn't. There's no style points for which one they want. Does it flip momentum back to Atlanta for a second? Sure, it does. But momentum changes at the blink of an eye in a playoff series. Every inning, every hit, every game changes momentum. The Phillies had all the momentum in the world. 3-0 in the postseason, stealing game 1 in Atlanta. What did Atlanta do in game 2? Responded. So there's no reason to believe the Phillies can't respond tomorrow night in that ballpark. I'll be down there. It's going to be electric. I don't think anybody, like, we're all hyping it up and we all had this idea. I think that atmosphere tomorrow outdoes anything we can even imagine. I really don't know what's in store to be down there. I'm going down early. I don't even know if the time I'm going down is considered early. Like, are people going to be down there at 7:30, 8:30 in the morning? I have no idea. But 100%, Casey, this team is in the NLDS and have split in Atlanta. Objective complete. And guys, like, they're underdogs. Like, I get it. It sucks. It's a gut punch, but they're not supposed to win the series. They're not. So were you expecting a sweep? Yeah, it would have been amazing. Not going to happen. The Phillies can win the World Series. Are they going to go undefeated in the postseason if they all the way through the World Series? No. They're going to lose games along the way, no matter how far they go. People aren't enjoying it enough. They're not. Way too much negativity. Braves are the defending champs, and you're going home with a split. 110%, my man. That was the main goal. And now we can get into the ins and outs. Rhys Hoskins, problem in the field, problem at the plate. Kyle Schwarber, big time problem at the plate right now as your leadoff hitter. JT Realmuto only has 2 hits, guys, or 3. I'm pretty sure our 1 through 3 hitters in Kyle Schwarber, Rhys Hoskins, and JT Realmuto have a combined 4 hits in the postseason so far. Say that again. Combined 4 hits from your top 3 hitters in the postseason so far. This ball club, who hit the long ball incredibly well throughout the regular season, has 1 home run in 4 playoff games. And they are 3-1 heading home for the first time in 11 years. They have not played their best baseball yet. They just haven't. So I think everyone needs to pump the brakes on the negativity. Oh man, Atlanta took momentum back. That Rhys Hoskins mishap at first base is a series killer. No, it's not. No, it's not, because all it takes, look at what Nick Castellanos did. Nick Castellanos was the biggest momentum killer in the regular season. Coming in this postseason, Nick, I just need you to do one thing. Hit 1 home run, make 1 play, and we'll forget about all that. What's he do? 3 RBIs and a game-saving catch. So what happens when Rhys Hoskins comes out on Friday night and hits a moonshot to left field in the 6th inning to take the lead? Is anybody going to remember the blunder at first base? No. We're so overreactionary on a play-by-play, game-by-game basis. It clouds the overall view. Now, I said it earlier. Rhys Hoskins is damn sure playing for his career in Philadelphia throughout this weekend. Make no mistake about it, he is. He's beloved in the clubhouse. He's a leader in this clubhouse. He's not the longest tenured Philly, but he's been one of the guys like Aaron Nola who's been through all of these September collapses and the rebuild and the retool, whatever you want to call it. And you saw the passion after the Houston win. He's a great guy. Hit 30-plus home runs this year. You can't have 1 hit in 4 playoff games. You can't be a net negative in the field and cost your team runs defensively and expect to be here in the long term. So Rhys Hoskins has 2 to 3 more games to turn this thing around if he wants to be in Philadelphia in the long term, from my point of view. Like, what are you going to, if Rhys Hoskins finishes the postseason 2 for 40 with that defensive mishap in game 2 of the NLDS, or maybe he has another, how could you even think about bringing him? Like, why? When it's been such a conversation for a long time. Do we trade Rhys at the deadline? He's probably the guy we can get the most back for. He shouldn't be here long term. He's a terrible first baseman. And I like Rhys Hoskins. I'm a defender of Rhys Hoskins. But he needs to step up in a big way. Kyle Schwarber, he's not playing for his Philly career. Why? Because he's here for the next 3 seasons. And he hit 46 freaking home runs in the regular season. Bottom line is, dude, you're the guy with the most playoff success, the most playoff experience. I need you to set up the rest of the order. I need you to step up this series or this weekend. Bottom line. And how we get to the pitcher on Friday night. Aaron Nola, And it's set up so beautifully that he's been the guy to do it. He's the longest tenured Philly, I believe. But Aaron Nola, the guy who's gotten the most criticism on this ball club, by myself included, because what he's doing right now doesn't take away, like, it doesn't prove us wrong. Aaron Nola was bad historically in September starts. He was bad with the season on the line in previous history. However, he flipped a new page. He's the guy that clinched the third wild card spot for the Phillies. Check. He's the guy that closed up the NL wildcard series against the Cardinals in a big way in his first ever playoff start. Check. Now he's the guy that gets to start the first playoff game at Citizens Bank Park in over a decade. It's so fitting, and for some reason, I had the utmost confidence in Aaron Nola. Normally, I'd say, shaky. I don't. That one bad inning, right? It's lurking. Even if he comes out 3 innings, no hit baseball, looks phenomenal. That 4th or 5th inning, you always know. It always feels like the wheels could fall off at any moment. I don't feel that way right now. I think he's so locked in. I think he's so, I don't know how to say built for the moment, because last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he wasn't built for the moment when the team needed him most. But it just feels like all the outside noise, he doesn't change. Everyone applauded Ranger Suarez and his demeanor and his facial expressions and his body language when he was working out at jams in Game 1 against the Braves. I think that's what you get out of Aaron Nola, but I think you get a much more productive version than what you got from Ranger Suarez, obviously. I think the Phillies win tomorrow night. I see no way. It's as close to a must-win as it can possibly get. Because if you lose tomorrow night, the Braves have now beaten your top 2 starters. Rangers obviously not pitching Saturday. You have to beat Atlanta 2 in a row, which obviously proves hard to do. And who are you going to throw? Bailey Falter? Kyle Gibson? I'm not saying none of those guys can get the job done. They're going to have to throw regardless. But I'll feel a lot more confident with one of those 2 on the mound than I will up 2-1 if they're down 3-1. I think the Phillies know that. I think this off day today, this travel day, this get home for the first time. My God, the Phillies are playing a home game, not just for the playoff game for the first time in 11 years. They're playing a home game for the first time in like 3 weeks to end the season. In over 14, 16 days, they are home for the first time. The Braves numbers of the 8 Phillies wins against Atlanta in the postseason, in the regular season this year, the Phillies, 5 of those wins were at home. The Braves ERA skyrockets in Philadelphia compared to at home at Truist Park. I expect the Bryce Harpers of the world, the JT Realmutos of the world, the Kyle effing Schwarbers of the world to step up tomorrow night. Because if the fans are going to be ready, I'm going to be ready. You're going to be ready. They need to be ready. And I think they will, whether it's Charlie Morton, whether it's a young, you want to talk about inexperience. I know the kid's filthy. A young, inexperienced Spencer Strider making his MLB playoff debut, coming off of an injury, hasn't pitched in over a month. Or a older Charlie Morton who has struggled against the Phillies and the rest of the league in the second half of this season, and he hasn't pitched in quite some time, in a few weeks, 2 weeks. I like the Phillies odds. I think Nola's locked in. I think the bats wake up. We talk about the bats being so up and down, so inconsistent. Well, guess what, guys? They're coming off a low of all lows. They just got shut out last night. I think the bats show up. I think the long ball. I know we love the small ball play, what they were capable of doing in Game 1. You need it. You need it to find a way to win in the postseason. But the long ball damn sure helps. And I think you will start to see that. 3 of those outs the Phillies made last night would have been way out of here at Citizens Bank Park. Bryce Harper made a 403-foot out. He also made a 386-foot out. Gene Segura rips one off the left field wall so hard that it only turns out to be a single. He would have been toast at second base. I really believe that the batters get going to set the plate, set the tone. Casey, that there's no roof, but if there was a roof over Citizens Bank Park, it would no longer exist if he hits a leadoff home run tomorrow. Big time, Abe. I get you. I know what you meant. Wake them up. The 2 leaders in this clubhouse, the 2 most vocal guys in this clubhouse, combined 1 hit. Wake up, man. JT Realmuto, not been much better. I think he's got 2 hits, 3 hits. Wake up, JT. Bryce looks locked in. Even though Nick didn't do much last night, Nick looks so much more confident, and the swing looks a lot better, and he's making harder contact. He looks locked in. Gene's locked in. Boehm looks confident. I know he had 2 horrible hacks last night, but he still looks locked in. It is the top of the damn order that needs to get it going. And when they do, not if they do, when they do, the Phillies will be advancing to the NLCS. That's my thoughts. Moving on to the team you see all on the wall behind me here, because I don't know if you guys know this. They have a very important game on Sunday. It doesn't feel like it. I just had Kai Carlin on. We're talking about Sixers season opener on Tuesday night. Championship level expectations for that team. Phillies trying to get to the NLCS, literal championship expectations, throughout the course of this weekend. And the Eagles are like background noise at the moment. They're only 5-0, the last remaining undefeated team in the NFL. Sunday Night Football at the Link, and it's Dallas week, who's coming in 4-1, fighting for first place with a win. It's not a big game at all. And here's the thing. I'm a little worried, guys. I'm not worried because it's Cooper Rush. Stop it with the Cooper Rush nonsense. Can't do it. Can't listen to it no more. Can't watch ESPN. Can't be on social media, whether it's Cowboy, whatever it is. Cannot listen to the Cooper Rush talk anymore. That defense is legit, though. That front seven's legit. I don't think they have enough to beat the Eagles. I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think they have nearly enough to beat the Eagles. The only way Dallas stays in this game or pulls out a win against the Eagles on Sunday night is if they do what they were able to do in the first 5 minutes against the Rams. A defensive touchdown, like the strip sack and return they had on Matt Stafford. Then get a block punt, sets up an automatic. That is the only way. If the Eagles come out and shit the bed and have, just mistake after mistake ridden drive, I don't see it. They haven't played either side of the ball like ours. They haven't played a defense like ours. Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Dan Orlovsky pointed this point out. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I love listening to Dan Orlovsky. Great football mind. He's funny, knowledgeable, breaks down film well. And he mentioned earlier when they were talking about this matchup that I forget the numbers exactly, but if you walked up to the line as a quarterback and you spiked the ball, you stopped the clock, right? Your QBR, I think he said, was a 39 point something, 39.6, let's say. James Bradbury and Darius Slay, when being targeted, that quarterback has a 37 point something QBR. Hold on, let me see. You have a better quarterback rating spiking the ball into the dirt to stop the clock than you do throwing at either one of those corners. And outside of CeeDee Lamb, who is banged up and has yet to prove he's a true number 1 wide receiver, Michael Gallup coming off of an injury. I know he scored in his first game back or something. Noah Brown, no. Jason Peters, I'm lining Hassan Reddick up every snap against Jason Peters. Cooper Rush cannot beat you. And Dallas isn't running the ball extremely well. They're just not. Ezekiel Elliott's only averaging 3.8 yards per carry. He's averaging under 70 yards per game. Tony Pollard's averaging under 60 yards per game, 50 yards per game, whatever the case may be. Now his average per carry is a little bit higher than Zeke's, but I'm not worried about it. The Eagles know you know what you have to do. Make Cooper Rush beat you. Stack the box. 7, 8 in the box. I trust CGJ and Bradbury and Slay and Epps and whoever's back there to take care of business in man or whatever they want to run. But stack the box and say Cooper Rush. If I keep saying Cooper Kupp, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I've been saying Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush, you're going to have to drop back and you're going to have to win this game through the air because I promise you it cannot happen. So no, Abe, you're 100% correct. They have not played a defense like the Eagles. Eagles have a top 7 unit right now on the defensive side of the ball. Let's get one thing else clear. The Dallas Cowboys defense, as dominant as that front 7 has been, as great as Micah Parsons is, as DeMarcus Lawrence has looked, they have yet to play an offense or an offensive line or a mobile quarterback like this Eagles team has. I don't know what you unless Dallas totally and utterly dominates the line of scrimmage, the Eagles are going to beat them by 2 scores. They don't have enough talent. I'm sorry. They don't. And here's how you do this. I talked about this on the morning show with Phil this morning. Abe's talking about my keys to the game: get up early and force them to beat you with Cooper Rush. Protect the football. Love it. I think protecting the football is huge in this game. And we've been talking about winning the turnover battle. It's always a thing. It's always a positive when you win the turnover battle in this league. And the Eagles, surprisingly, have done that incredibly well the first 5 weeks of the season, something we're not accustomed to seeing with this defense, causing a lot of turnovers. But they have. I don't think you need to win the turnover battle. You just can't lose it. 0-0 no turnovers in the game. It's fine with me. You cannot give this quarterback that I'm talking down to, Cooper Rush, a short field. You have to make him play between the 20s. You cannot, field position is another thing. You cannot get stuck at your own 10, your own 15, and have to punt from your goal line and give them the ball at the 45 or 50-yard line, because that's a recipe for points for that offense. Make them drive the length of the field. Make them beat you with touchdowns, not field goals. The Dallas Cowboys have scored, what did Phil say to me earlier? They have scored 7 touchdowns this year in 5 games. 7 total touchdowns. And that's including a defensive touchdown last week. 7 touchdowns in 5 games. They're not a high-powered offense, and they have seen nothing like this Eagles offense has defensively. But if you want to deflect some of this pass rush, this more so than anything is on the game plan. It is on Shane Steichen and Jeff Stoutland and Nick Sirianni, because one thing that if Jalen Hurts has made all the leaps and strides we've looked for in a quarterback so far this season through 5 games, the one thing that is noticeably wrong still is him being able to diagnose things pre-snap, at least in a blitz pickup. I go back to week 1 with Detroit. I go back to last week with Arizona. They're showing you exactly what they're doing. They are lining up 2 edge rushers, 7 in the box, and they are bringing it, and they do nothing pre-snap. He doesn't slide a protection. A running back doesn't come back to chip. A tight end doesn't come over to chip. They don't move. He doesn't roll out and move the pocket to alleviate that pressure. Nothing. They just accept it and try to get the play off that they want to run, and it hasn't worked out too well. So listen, the Eagles, if there is an offensive line in this league that can put up with that pass rush, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, right? We're talking about the best offensive line in football, if not a top 3 unit in football. Jordan Mailata looks to be back. Landon Dickerson seems to be fine. Jason Kelsey nicked up today in practice, but I'm assuming the warrior that he is a full go. Lane Johnson hasn't allowed a sack in I forget how many snaps in games. It's ridiculous. But I'm still not comfortable mano-y-mano dropping Jalen Hurts back. Drop back. No extra protection. No sliding the pocket. No nothing. And just letting this Dallas front 7 come after them. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think any offensive line is good enough to deal with that. So you have to be able to, the game plan has to be on point pre-snap. Extra running back, extra tight end, a chipper, whatever it is, moving the pocket like purposely, not letting Jalen go off script and get out of the pocket, like moving it, snap, move the pocket, slide, right? So things like that have to be on point. You have to establish the run. That's step 2 to alleviate a great pass rush. And the Cowboys don't stop the run particularly well. I think they allow 130 plus rushing yards per game through 5 weeks so far. And they haven't even played a good rushing offense like the Eagles have. So the Eagles should be able to establish a run. And the second you do that, that's why I would love Nick Sirianni. I know we all sit back here and we want to see, take a shot deep. Try to take the top off the defense on the first play. They'll never expect it. We would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. No, I'm coming out and I'm establishing the run from the jump. And until they stop that, I'm doing it. And then I'll let Jalen Hurts feed off of that. And that will alleviate the pass rush of the Cowboys. The only thing I wish Jalen could get a little banged up. I was reading Abe's comment saying banged up. The only thing I wish Jalen could get a little better at, like, I don't know if it's just the way Nick wants to run the offense. I'm not even sure it's Jalen, but playing from under center. Like the RPO is great and it's fun and it's a huge focal point of this offense and it's creative and a lot of misdirection. I get it. But behind this offensive line against this defensive line, if you could add an extra tight end, like Jack Stoll in next to Goddard on the front and go 12 personnel and have him line up under center with this offensive line, with the way they already run the ball, I think it would add another element to this offense and to this rushing attack. But they don't do it. They say, I don't know, outside of a quarterback sneak, Jalen doesn't get up under center. And it's one of the things that I would just like to see. Not a lot, just here and there. At least let it be a wrinkle in the offense, because I think you could. That's when you can really get downhill, and especially in short yardage situations. Abe, I want the Eagles to have long, drawn-out drives, tire out their defense, 100%. And another thing, defensively, I'm all over the place here, thinking about my, keys to victory and my game plan and all. I promise I'll give more in depth on Sunday with Scotty, but making Cooper Rush play from behind the line, play from behind the sticks, right? No third and manageables, no third and shorts where they can run the ball or allow him to pick something like 2nd and 11, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10. Those situations is where you can get the Cowboys offense off the field quickly. Last thing defensively, I'm going after Trevon Diggs. Don't care. Do not care. That is a mismatch all day long with A.J. Brown, 1-on-1. And the way I'm doing this to get A.J. Brown the ball, because I know it's a big talking point from last week. He didn't get the ball after the first drive when he caught 3 catches. I'm not looking to get A.J. Brown the ball deep downfield. I'm not looking to the intermediate stuff. I'm going back to my game plan week 1 against the Detroit Lions. Screens to A.J. Brown, quick outs to A.J. Brown, slants to A.J. Brown, pick plays to A.J. Brown, get the ball in his hands. Let Trevon Diggs in that secondary have to bring down that monster of a wide receiver time and time again. And I promise they'll get tired of doing it. And I promise if Nick Sirianni decides to go back to that wide receiver screen game a little bit again, or run some things Trevon Diggs' way again, hit him with a little misdirection and go the other way. Because I promise you that man wants to take it back to the house. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if I'm running that, let's just take the Devontae Smith screen pass from last week. If I'm running that screen pass over and over and over again, and I see the defense start to lean, I see Trevon Diggs start to, play up on A.J. Brown on the other side of the field. Or if I have A.J. Brown or a Quez Watkins line up next to the screen, throw 3 wide receivers over there, run the screen pass. 2 possessions later, line up, same formation. If they're leaning, pump, go route with someone else. I promise, if Trevon Diggs if that defense is leaning and they think they know what's coming, after watching the film from last week's screen game, they will not be expecting a double move down the field. Throw another added wrinkle. And maybe that's part of it, right? Like maybe showcasing that film last week is part of a plan moving forward. We don't know. But I do not want to see 57 wide receiver Devontae Smith screens again. Just an unnecessary thing to do. Run the football. Diagnose the blitz pre-snap, because it's been a problem all year. A.J. Brown versus Trevon Diggs, and make Cooper Rush beat you. Stack the box, take away their running attack, make Cooper Rush beat you. Promise it won't happen. Yeah, like if I can lay one thing on the line for you guys, if I can promise you one thing will not happen, it is that Cooper Rush can beat the Eagles defense with his arm. It's a negative possibility. DSM Media and the Phaithful Phanatics Show are proudly brought to you by my friends over at Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft, and it shows. Rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area, having multiple award-winning barbers and being able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. Here's a look at some of Gents' great work. Book your appointment today at www.gentsbarberlounge.com. Again, that is gentsbarberlounge.com. Old City or Fishtown locations. Guys, we're also proudly brought to you by our friends at Luxodon Jewelers. Check them out at shopluxodon.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 25% off. Again, that is promo code all caps DSM for 25% off at shopluxodon.com at checkout. It's men and women's jewelry. It's bracelets, chains, crosses, anything you want, gold and silver. Very nice product. I have one on here myself. They also offer free shipping all the time, so don't worry about it. 25% off your total checkout purchase with promo code DSM. That's going to wrap up this Thursday edition of the Phaithful Fanatic Show. We will be back Monday, live here on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, on their Twitter accounts. Hopefully having another spectacular victory Monday, Phillies and Eagles. I didn't even mention this. We are staring down the barrel of the biggest weekend in Philadelphia sports in a very long time. In my life, like for the money I can remember, like I get it. Like we have we have an Eagles Super Bowl. Totality, what's at stake? That's a big overall. That game means more than anything. But you're talking Eagles, Cowboys, both great records. Sunday Night Football at the Link. You're talking Phillies, Braves, first postseason action at Citizens Bank Park in over a decade. Biggest weekend in Philadelphia sports history. I cannot wait for it. And it all kicks off tomorrow. So guys, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Go Phils. Go Birds. Go Sixers. See you later.